they're destroying their own ability to make money because they're doing stuff that brings legislation, that brings negative eyes. What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Collecting Keys Real Estate Investing Podcast. I'm your host, Mike DeHaan, here with Dan Austin and Greg Helback today, friend of the show. We do not have Dylan today because we kind of recorded this last minute when Greg hit me up and was like, hey, we should record today. I got something I want to talk about. So sorry, Dylan, you missed out, but I also know that you're like hanging out with your kid or whatever you do in the afternoons over there on the East Coast. But awesome. Greg, good to have you back, man. I think this will be your third or fourth time on here?
Yeah, I love the show. I'm a listener, so it's cool to be a guest every couple months.
You're a raving fan.
Yeah, I appreciate that, dude. Yeah. So really quick, in case people have missed your previous episodes, too long didn't read. Give us 10 seconds. Who you are, where you're based out of, what you do.
Seattle, Washington, flipper, wholesaler, landlord. Been doing this for 10 years. Probably got 425 deals under the belt. A lot of experience in multiple markets, and I've seen this business change drastically in the 10 years I've been around.
I was about to say, at this point, you're probably one of the most senior people in the industry, honestly.
Right. It's crazy to say that because I'm not that old, but I was so young when I started. I was 20.
So what was the market like when you started? When I say the market, the wholesaler vibe, what was it like?
Okay, so this was literally 10 years ago in September of 15.
Nice.
There was basically no podcasts on. There was 2 podcasts on the whole entire thing.
And period. I think there's only 2 podcasts in general at that point.
Yeah, it was nuts, dude.
And one was Bigger Pockets, and they definitely weren't talking about wholesaling.
Yeah, exactly.
And the other one was Joe Rogan. Those all that existed.
exactly. Bigger Pockets was the 800-pound gorilla, and now they're not even close to where they were.
No.
So that's the first thing. There was not a lot of education on it. The seminar circuit was big time, the traveling circus of salesmen was all over the country. The TV shows got pretty popular at that point, and technology was obviously not where it was at now. TikTok didn't exist. IG was still pretty new. And then like I said, YouTube wasn't like it is now. So the information that was going around wasn't that popular. Therefore, the competition was not that. If you were doing direct to seller marketing in 2015, you were guaranteed to get a 20x on your spend, and you could be a complete dumbass because nobody was getting letters, nobody was bidding on keywords, nobody was calling, there was no software, PropStream didn't exist, no software existed, ListSource was the only thing around. It was a completely different, it was crazy. The values obviously weren't as high as they are now. It was we used to send 2,000 postcards and get 3 or 4 deals off of that. And it made no sense. We wouldn't even work. We would just fuck off and mail and then do a couple deals and then go on vacation and get drunk. Yeah. It was ridiculous. And we were
great
kids. Yeah. So, as that kind of progressed, what I've seen is you had the 2015 to 2019. And also in 2018 and 2019, the market wasn't necessarily bad, but it wasn't this hyper inflated, crazy marketplace. So if it took you 3 months to sell a flip, that wasn't oh my God, you're terrible. That was normal, right?
Yeah.
So it was an interesting time. And then I saw that as from 2015 to 2019, it was if you did direct to seller marketing, you were a genius, right? Just because you did it. And then once COVID happened, for about 2 months, people didn't really know what the fuck was up. So everyone was kind of is the world going to fall down? We can't go outside our houses. It was super weird. I was a little scared. I had a bunch of flips going on. But then when COVID happened, a lot of people were out of work. The world shut down. And then for some reason, the real estate, because they dropped the interest rate so much, the real estate values just went through the roof. And then everybody started getting into the game. Everyone had a podcast. Everyone had a YouTube channel. Everyone's on social media. The wholesaling game or the off-market game got really popular. And then I noticed that, the cost to get deals went up, but then the margins were great because you were selling your flips for way more money. And, buying rentals made sense because you're refining at 3%. And, it just seemed like this kind of evolution. And then mid 2022, and I'm obviously being brief here, mid 2022, the rates went up and then half the flippers lost their pants, right? Because they were buying bad deals. And then, the market got to where it's if you still went direct to seller, it was going to cost a lot more, but you had to be really careful when you're flipping, and the buyers kind of went away. And then from basically 2023 until now, 2025, it's been hard. You have to spend more money to get deals. You got to really know what you're doing. It's super competitive. Nationwide wholesaling is like the new normal. And I mean, that didn't exist in 2015. No one was doing that. And we've noticed that the biggest threat in our company is not local investors. It's national wholesalers actually that are really fucking some stuff up. Totally. And I can get into that, but I've just seen this business kind of evolve and change. And now there's, 300 PPC vendors, and there's, an industry for everything, and call centers and mailing houses. And it's just wild how, like, I literally saw this little like mom and pop business turn into an industry. And now it's like, there's 7 masterminds that are huge. It's just crazy to see.
Yeah.
It is.
I would say a lot of that is a symptom of the market cycle as well, right?
Yeah.
Just like in general, because, there's the old saying, those that can't do, teach. And I think that there's, we started our scale community a number of years ago. That was about 22, I think, when we started that, Dan. And a big reason that we started that was our frustration with the fact that so many of like the gurus that were out there, they weren't actually doing the business. And that was kind of like our sales pitch with it, was like, we're actually guys that are doing the business, and here's how you do it. It turns out that's a really bad sales pitch, because we're not selling a dream. We're selling fucking hard work and hustle. And the plus side that we got out of that is scale as that grew, and it's been very, very stagnant for a while. And it hasn't been a focus for us for the last like year and a bit. But our success rate with people that have gone through that is extremely high, because we got people that wanted to grind and build a business. The downside is, as a business endeavor, we pretty much made no money off of it. Honestly. Like all the value that we got out of scale was the fact that people would bring us deals, the monetary value. We've made lots of great friends and things. People would bring us deals. It's turned into a good like lead funnel for our lending company. People have like JV'd stuff with us and different things. It's given us like a good reputation. At least I think. They could say that, no, we're assholes, but people still stick around. So I think we've done okay.
Good community. Like you said, a lot of friends, and it's great to be able to go to most towns and be able to link up with somebody.
Totally. Yeah. But the thing that's so interesting is that, like, as you look at just the entire space in general, and this is real estate as a whole, the vast majority of people that I would say are actually like operators, they're pretty much like, they're kind of out of the limelight. And this isn't everybody. This is a lot of people. If they're like active real estate operators, and the ones that are the like sort of faces that you see out there, they're just so full of bullshit constantly, dude. Totally. And like they're typically just repeating stuff that worked for them back in like 2015 to 2018, like you talked about, before things were as just sort of like developed and built out like they are now. And they're pretending like it's still the same, because the random schmuck who just discovered flipping houses in 2024, 2025, they don't know that isn't how it works anymore. They have no idea.
Exactly, dude. That's the problem, bro.
And it's crazy how quickly that shifted, honestly. I know it's been years, but like I remember when I started flipping houses in 2018, exactly like you talked about, I had a realtor I was working with at the time. I would just buy stuff off the market, like fixer-uppers.
Yeah, that used to work really well.
Like,
that's how we bought most of our rental properties back in the day.
Totally. We just buy them off the market.
Fucking have at it.
Yeah, we do a full inspection. You like ask for concessions from the seller, like buying a flip. And then when you close on it, they're like, so expect this to take 3 to 6 months to sell after you finish it. And that was the expectation. And then all of a sudden, over like 18 months, you got into 2020, and that all went out the window.
Just changed.
Yeah. If you're not getting multiple offers after the first weekend, you're a fucking clown, basically.
Yeah.
Not literally, but that's and then another thing too, I've seen, like, because I don't have a huge Instagram, but I get a lot of engagement on mine, and I put out a lot of content. I don't have anything to sell. Like, I do get JV deals from it and whatnot and private money, but like, I just don't give a fuck. Like, I don't like say anything like outlandish, but like, I'm just really honest about what I put out there, and people know that. And then if they ever run into me in public, they're like, oh, he's the same way he is online. It's just because it's the truth. I remember in Florida one time, I got interviewed on this guy's like podcast, and he like ran into me at a bar, and I was absolutely pinned. And he's like, are you like from that video with so-and-so? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, holy shit. I was like, what the fuck? I was really drunk too. And I was like, I was really drunk. Yeah.
I'm just an ordinary guy who gets drunk.
And I was like, yeah, man, like, and I got to take a piss, man. I'm really pinned right now. Let me go be back in a minute. But like, he was like, anyway, but it's like, if you are congruent with who you are and you're not a dirtbag, and you have, I mean, if you're selling something, there's nothing wrong with that. But like you said, I see a lot of people who are like, they say one thing, but then they're the complete opposite. And then they don't actually have a business doing what they teach. And it fucks over people because they think that it's going to work because Johnny Guru said it. But then when they actually go try to do what Johnny Guru's teaching, obviously that's a fictitious person, it doesn't work because Johnny Guru doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about because his shit is from 2019. Yeah, and that's where people are like, oh, this business doesn't work. It's so hard. Like, I can't believe a seller is going to sell their house for 50% of market. It's like, yeah, like you got to spend money to do that. You got to know what you're doing. And, shit changes all the time. Like if this was that easy, then, there'd be no opportunity.
Right. I have a proposal. I think, and Mike, you're going to spearhead this. This is right up your alley. So there's this podcast I listen to. It's called the Anti-Hero Podcast. And what they do is they take people like military veterans who are in the limelight and are telling their story, right? Like, so one of the best ones is the guy who said he shot bin Laden. Rob O'Neill's yeah. So they break down his story and his background and basically prove that he's a complete phony and it's bullshit, right? And they do all these interviews and talk to people behind the scenes, and they'll take their book or whatever, read it word for word and all this stuff, and they break it down. So Mike, what you'll do now is we'll do a bunch of background research on all these gurus and just break down how it's just all bullshit, and then we can publish it. Oh my God. A special 10-part series for Michael DeHaan.
Well, dude,
the Anti-Wholesaler podcast.
Get a good lawyer ready, fella.
It's so easy, dude. We've already done this.
I know we've already done it. It's so funny.
Like literally, Gwen. So Pace Morby was on this podcast, this was years ago, and he said on the podcast, he's like, if anyone has beef with me, or has a problem with what I'm saying, just DM me right now. I'd love to chat with you. I'm literally on a plane. You listen to this. I'm like, what? I paid for Wi-Fi. I paid like the $15 for fucking Delta Wi-Fi just so I could DM him and say, hey, I just listened to your podcast. I have beef with what you say all the time. And literally I was asking questions, and every single response that he had, and I know it was him because he was filming him talking and recording rather than typing to me. Right. Yeah. Which is a really egotistical thing to do. It was really him. I think he probably did that. So I knew it was him. And everything that every response he would give me would be just like, well, my community is so big. Yeah. And if you want, you could come and talk to them and tell them what you think. And I'm like, let's do it. I'm free on Tuesday.
That's right. You remember he offered to come to his facility or whatever.
Yes. And I was like, I will fly down there tomorrow. Yeah. Where is it? Tell me where to go. And he just kept going and be like, my community's so big, bro. Like I've changed so many lives. He never once answered my question. So I had that one. And then I had another one where Josh and Tiffany High were pretending like they invented Ari Simply. It was this whole thing where they're like, exactly. I fucking know Sherrod. And they're posting about how they invented this new CRM.
They built a custom CRM.
They built a custom CRM that's exactly their business. And I was like, bitch, you're lying. And I was just messaging on Instagram, screenshotting her stuff and just being liar and
I forgot about that.
Phoning it to Ari Simply. Then all of a sudden I get a phone call from Sherrod and I'm like, oh shit. And so Sherrod,
he's super mellow too.
He's super chill, dude. He's great. And I'm like, what's up, buddy? And immediately this lady starts just going off on me, dude. It was fucking Tiffany.
Oh, he put her, it was a three-way call, wasn't it?
Three-way called with her on there.
I love it, dude.
She just starts going off. She's like, you're a narcissist, going off on me. I was like,
we gotta do a highlight reel of this shit, dude.
I was like, all you're doing is proving my point. Thank you. Okay. Dude, just why are you saying weird stuff? Just say hey, I have this great software I use. It's been relevant for my business. Don't pretend like you made it. That's a dumb thing to do. Yeah. So I don't know, man.
It's a white label, right? It's like. I remember this guy was promoting PropStream and he didn't do anything wrong, but he had a thing called whatever the fuck it was called. Mm-hmm. And I went on and I just looked at the main page and it was PropStream. And I'm like, it's just a white label. There's nothing wrong with white label. Just fucking tell
people say that, dude.
That whole phase of the white label CRMs, Ryan Pineda had one. I think
that lasted
Jimmy
3 months.
Norton had one.
What's
his name? Yeah, Jim Norton had a white label thing. Yeah, right, he was giving it away for free. That was the whole thing. Was it was just to get a PropStream.
I actually use that. It's pretty fucking good, honestly.
It's the same thing, dude. It's the same. It's a
it's pretty good.
It's not PropStream. It's what's the other one? Property Radar. No.
Real Flow. Probably.
Real Flow, thank you. Yeah, that's one that everyone was white labeling. It's the same basic concept.
Yeah. I will say, I did a podcast interview with Jerry, and he is pretty fucking cool. I'm not going to lie. You guys might disagree, but he is actually fucking cool.
I've never met him. Though. he will say, I have no qualms with him. Yeah, as Dan said,
he's just super nice. He's actually very congruent because I sat down with him and he wanted to do the show at like 9 Eastern, which is 6 our time.
Mhm.
I got up for that because obviously he's a legit guy.
Yeah.
I did an hour-long interview with him. I did no fucking prep. And he was easy to talk to, polite, respectful. I could tell he actually knows what he's talking about, and he's a very good marketer.
Mhm.
So I give him a lot of credit because he's a big guru and he's legit. So I got nothing but good things to say about Jerry Norton. He's a solid guy.
Yeah,
for sure.
Good to hear.
But one of the easiest ways to find out people's bullshit though is you question it just like a little bit and you see how they respond. Right.
Exactly.
If they get defensive, if they suddenly have like a reason or like a one-off, or they have like some sort of excuse about why this particular case is different, then you know that they're completely full of it.
100%.
100%. No, it's crazy. So you fellas want me to tell you what I saw the other day? Because this is the impetus of this phone call.
Yeah, the meat and potatoes. Right. Let's go.
So I'm on Instagram on Saturday at, I don't know, 2:30 local time. And I'm just scrolling because I don't really look at my phone in the morning on the weekend. I don't really like looking at my phone at the weekend, but I'm fucking on Instagram. What else is new? And I see this dude make a post, and it was like a reel on IG, and he's like, "How we make an extra $7,000 to $35,000 per deal?" And I'm like, "Huh,
that's a huge range, by the way."
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
it's a lot,
right? So I was like, "Huh, that's interesting." So I go on and I watch the thing. Obviously, I followed the guy, and it was like one of those like do this kind of videos. It was like, get a re-inspection. So he said re-inspection 5 to 7 days before closing, and then basically renegotiate the price after you do a re-inspection once you have a closing set. So the seller basically can't do anything because they're essentially packed their fucking house. Yep. And I stopped the video. I was just laughing and almost like crying at the same time. Like, this is like actual like criminal activity. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, that is so shady and so disgusting. I'm like, I got to comment on this thing. Yeah. So I comment on it. And I didn't say anything crazy. I was like, hey, man, I think this is why wholesaling is going to be illegal. This is disgusting. This is just shitty, basically. And then this other guy who does a lot of deals said the same thing. He's like, hey, I agree with, Greg here. Like, this is fucking disgusting, basically. And it got me to realize, like, the amount of just scum tactics that happen in this business. Because if you really want to, like, break it down, like, okay, yeah, can you make more money on every deal if you wanted to? Sure. 100%. But if you think about, if you need to renegotiate a deal on your inspection period, or if the seller lied, there's nothing wrong with that. That happens all the time. It's normal, right? Or maybe your buyer is at 500 and you have it under contract for 500 and you got to make 20 grand and you ask the seller, hey, I don't have any room here. Can you go down lower? Like, whatever. There's nothing wrong with that if you set the right expectations. But if you're making 30,000 and you have a buyer and you have a seller, and then you want to make 40,000 because you want to go ball out at the club. And instead of getting the buyer to pay more money, which you probably should have done anyway, you go to the seller who's vulnerable, most likely never getting money like that ever again, and unsophisticated. And you get them at their like real estate weakest point when they're all set up to close. Mm-hmm. And you say, in order for us to get this done, we need to be at 10,000 less for no fucking reason. You are a piece of shit. I am sorry to inform you. You are an absolute piece of shit.
Especially if nothing's changed with the property.
Nothing's changed. A re-inspection.
Right. Yeah.
It's fucking disgusting. Right. Like, because they know, this person's got their moving truck coming on Sunday. Mm-hmm. If we hit them on freaking Thursday night at 6:30 p.m., they have no choice. And it's like, this is why wholesaling is getting really hard with regulations. Novations will probably become illegal eventually because it's like an even bigger version of wholesaling on the market. And we notice in our business, we don't really lose to local buyers that often. We lose to the national wholesalers who go get these properties under contract when they don't know a fucking thing about New York or Washington. Yeah. And they get the seller to take $100,000 more than what we're offering. And then they ultimately screw them over. And this is like happening at a rapid pace because everyone's trying to do this national. Everyone's bidding on the same keywords. And it's an absolute shit show. And I just want to promote doing this business the right way. And you can still make a shitload of money doing it the right way. You don't need to be like some asshole making $10,000 per deal. You can make $100,000 on a seller's house and not feel bad about it if you do it the right way.
Yeah. And the worst is when you already have it sold too. So like with our lending business, we'll see this from time to time. We actually have a deal this morning that Dan told me about. It's with a very prominent company in our market here in Spokane, Washington.
Okay.
I'm not going to say which company it is, but it's a very, very prominent one.
How come you don't want to say which company it is?
Because I'm not going to do that, Dan. I'm going to take the high ground here. But it is a very prominent company here in Spokane, and they're
the most well known. How about that?
Yeah, most well known for sure. Like people,
are they easy to
know.
Are they easy to work with?
I've heard that. I don't know anything about them.
Yes,
I've
heard that exact quote.
I've never worked with them personally. Yeah. But so we're doing a loan for one of their buyers. They sent out the dispo email. No one took it. Our buyer got it for like $10,000 below their ask. So they were having a $10,000 fee. This deal is supposed to fund on Thursday, Dan? I think it's
Wednesday.
Thursday. Wednesday.
Thursday, yes, it's Thursday. So, no, you're right. It closes Thursday.
Next couple of days, buyer calls today and said, "Hey, so this wholesale company they did a price drop with the seller. Is that going to change anything about the deal? The buyer's price is staying the same. They just went and price dropped the seller by 20 grand. So they now have a $30,000 margin instead of a $10,000 margin for no reason. Yes. The deal is already sold. The lender's already there. The thing is all set to close, and they just chose to do that out of greed.
To your point, Greg, at the most vulnerable time, the week of closing, right?
Yes.
Like week of closing, like what are they going to do? Yeah, it's kind of crap. This same company, I've had another one we were dealing with where the buyer ended up backing out because he was like, "Fuck that! I'm not working with these guys." Essentially, what they did was he's like, "Hey, I need the PSA," right? And so they gave him the PSA, then basically they went and got a price drop, and then he's like, "Hey, what's up? This PSA is different than the first one you gave me. Like this one's lower than the first one." And they're like, "Well, yeah, because the sewer is bad, so we price dropped the seller." And he's like, "The sewer's bad? You never told me the sewer's bad, and then you price dropped the seller and kept the 10K? What the hell?" And he's just like, "F you, I'm not doing the deal." So they basically just made up an excuse to try to get more money out of the seller. And so it's just like that's that typical. This is how I make $7,000 to $35,000 more. I just price drop people.
But that's great about this one because now I'm going to have both PSAs and actual hard evidence of this. So if and when they do listen to this, that's going right into my filing cabinet right here. Next time you deny any shady shit, it's going to be in my archive that I can just post forever.
100%. Yes.
And that's the problem I have with people because the truth is, is it getting harder to do this business? Yeah, it's going, the cost is going up and the margins are staying the same. But you have to just be willing to, and I heard this from a guy in San Diego who has a $50 million a year flipping company. He says sometimes you got to work twice as hard to make half as much, and you got to be okay with that.
Yeah.
This guy makes 50 sheets a fucking year.
Wow.
And he's a good guy, and he knows what he's doing, and you don't build a business like that if you're a dirtbag. And, obviously I'm going to listen to what this guy has to say. And that's a problem I'm seeing with some of these other investors is they're greedy. They and the thing that's funny, like if you look at any like bullshit company website, they have their core values and they're all their bullshit, integrity, honor, this, that. And then you really go under the fucking hood and you see the scum tactics that happens. And you're like, oh my God, no wonder nobody wants to sell to a fucking buyer, a private buyer, because all this bullshit happens. And like I get up every day and I fight like a dog in my business to make sure that other dirtbags don't get the same leads that we have, because at least I know, and am I an angel? No, but I know that I'm going to treat the seller the right way. And we're not going to fuck people over, and we're not going to do business the wrong way. Like, am I perfect? No, but I can tell you right now, I've never scummed a seller like that, and I never will because I don't need to. And even if I did, I wouldn't do it. Like,
so
it's
shitty.
Just fucked up. Yeah.
Yes. We've done at least one this year, if not two, where we freaking just wholesaled the deal for $0.
For zero. For scratch.
I'm selling right now for 5,000 in Graham because I just want to help the fucking guy.
Yeah,
exactly.
My cost to get that deal was 10. So
right.
Yeah, for sure.
It's all good.
Yeah.
Just what you do. It's the right thing to do in that situation. You got a seller to say, you told a seller you were going to buy it. You get you can't get a buyer except for at your scratch price. Guess what? Just do the deal. Who cares?
Take it down.
You've already spent the marketing money. Just do it. Exactly. You just go through it.
Do what you got to do. And that, ironically, that one deal we're making 5 sheets on, it's got some title issues, and I'm helping fix it because I'm not going to be a scumbag. Like, oh man, I'm not making any money on this. Fuck it. Like, I'm not going to be a scumbag. Like, I act the same way on a 5K deal that I do on a 500K deal. It's the same shit. Like,
as much as you want to let it go, that's what you're supposed to do, right? Like that is that like, and the thing that these people don't understand is it's not even just about making money at that point. Like if you enough people do that over a long period of time, it negatively affects the industry. Like if you look over a 5 or 10 year horizon, they're destroying their own ability to make money because they're doing stuff that brings legislation, that brings negative eyes.
Exactly.
Like it's like this whole, I'm trying to beat out everybody else by being as shady as possible. It's so short-sighted. It just doesn't make any sense at all.
It makes no sense.
Yeah. And they think, I'll just do it this once. They never do it one time.
Of course.
Once you've done it, you're going to do it more.
Says, once your ethics get crossed, you never go back.
That's true.
Why? Yes.
Like, honestly.
Why would
you do something shady once, you're like, you know what? Fuck it. Maybe the next time, because you can always
already done it.
Things are justification animals, right?
Yes.
We act emotionally like animals, and then we justify the shit out of it. I had something happen this morning where something happened that I wasn't too fond of, and the person who did it was like justifying, and I was just commenting to my boys like, oh, look, he's justifying now. Like, what the fuck?
Right.
But it's the truth. And I see this, and I saw this video, and I got so triggered by it. And I'm like, man, this is exactly why I want to beat out other investors. It's not to get even richer. It's just to it's just to make sure, like, because like listen, are most sellers out of their fucking minds? Yes. I'm going to be the first one to admit that. But I will say there are times where we build so much value with a seller and they trust us so much, and the experience that they'd have with us is so positive. Because not every seller is like that. Some people, you could give them the whole entire world and they'll still ask for, the next planet.
Yes.
But, they're really appreciative of us. They really just are so honored that we bought their house, right, and made money on it. And there are other sellers where you do all the right shit, you don't do anything wrong, and they still complain about something. And that's just who they are.
Yep.
But I just know when there's so many scumbags out there and there's so many scumbags teaching other scumbags about this, it's going to be, kind of like a ticking time bomb to where I think actually in Pennsylvania, I don't think you could wholesale. There's some real red tape in Pennsylvania.
Well, dude, in Washington, it's coming up. They're having that new law starting next year where now you have to have, basically if an agent isn't involved, then you have to pay for the seller to get an appraisal if they ask for that. Yep. You have to front the cost as the buyer.
You have to disclose that they are allowed to have an appraisal. You have to disclose that once they get the appraisal back, they can cancel at no cost within 5 days, and they have 10 days from signing the contract to cancel at no reason. I think that's the rules.
Mm-hmm. But if you have it listed though, or if you have an agent involved, or does it have to be listed?
If you have an agent involved, I don't think it has to be listed though.
You have to have an agent representing you, right? So then where it gets weird
is the seller does.
So you do as the buyer.
Yeah.
So let's say let me give you an example. Okay. Tacoma, Washington, I get an AO for 150 grand, which would be like a fucking home run, right? It's probably worth 400 fixed up, might need 50, 60 grand. Well, actually probably 80 grand out here. It's a little more expensive to rehab. Yeah. So I got this AO and I got a PSA at 150. I got a buyer's agent who's helping me, even though I'm a professional buyer. And I'm paying that buyer's agent out of my own pocket a point.
You don't even need to necessarily pay them, right? It can be someone on your team. They just have to be licensed. Okay. So but what they're kind of banking on is in the state of Washington is one of the states where a realtor is technically a fiduciary to all property owners. And so
they become a dual agent at that point if they're involved in a transaction.
Correct. They become a dual agent and they need to legally be disclosing that they're an agent, and they are required to be honest with the seller about the value of their house. Yep. Okay. So if an agent's shady and ignores that, totally, you can still fly by night. But then at that point, you have the ability to get smacked by the Washington Association of Realtors, which can be very significant. I have a friend here that got slapped by that, and it was like $50,000 per incident.
Yeah.
Right. It's very, very severe. So that it basically makes it so it's possible for them to come after you for being dishonest about that. But it's of course going to have so many gray areas and so many workarounds that people can do.
Yeah.
What if the seller signs off on the PSA that they are acknowledging that there's a realtor involved, and they're also acknowledging that they're selling their house substantially below market value?
You still have to have in your contract that they have the ability to get an appraisal.
That's going to be the killer.
An appraisal at your expense as the buyer.
Is kind of crazy.
And then they can back out for no reason for the next 10 days afterwards. It's pretty nuts.
So you know what that's going to do? I think, and they're probably maybe I'm thinking about the Washington properties I've done. Maybe let's say out of 20 properties, maybe 3 sellers that I can go off the top of my head would probably pull that one.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say the other 17, I would go to bet and say they probably wouldn't give a fuck, and they would still go through with it because of the good job that we did on the front end.
Yeah.
Right.
I think there's still going to be fallout though, because if someone sees, especially in my market in Seattle, oh, it's worth 300 grand more than what I'm in contract for.
Right.
It's a fuckload of money.
Well, and nobody says you can't pick your appraiser, and I don't know if there's appraisal standards.
Oh,
that's what I was about to say. Is I don't know if you have
every
to go
regulation
through an
has a
AMC.
loophole.
Yeah. Or you just go into like, here's what we should do. We should just create WashingtonRealEstateAppraisers.com. And what it does is it just gives you like a number on a waiting list as like a random number. And you're like, we're number 57. It's going to take 3 months. Are you sure you want to wait for this, Mr. Seller?
Right.
Nah, just skip it.
No. What?
But yeah, I don't know what the rules are around that, but I mean, that's a whole other game.
There's a lot of shady wholesalers in Seattle, so I think that's actually going to be good because it's going to get a lot of
Mm-hmm.
these jackasses out of the marketplace, honestly.
Yeah, well, and you're already seeing that, seeing people that I think that's one of the reasons that the national thing is so popular is because it allows people to be more dynamic as the rules and regulations change in different states. I mean, that's the whole reason that we were running our partnership program for a while was because in Washington State, it wasn't necessarily around changing legislation, but it was around the changing market sentiment, right? And Eastern Washington, North Idaho had inflated so much. We knew the bubble was going to burst. So like, let's go somewhere where properties are cheaper. There's more opportunities. So we started doing stuff in the South and the Midwest and different things. And we actually avoided getting bit by the little bubble popping out here in Eastern Washington compared to like a lot of our competition that went completely bust. But the challenge now comes maintaining relationships and keeping up with all the rules in different places. That's where we kind of pulled it close again. But if you're like a big enough company and you're willing to just kind of like throw stuff out everywhere, I mean, especially with the different online marketing and stuff people do, like you can run $60,000-$70,000 a month in PPC on a national campaign and get leads. And you're like, I don't know what's in Toledo, Ohio, but let's see if we can figure out an agent there that will help us comp this house and we can wholesale it.
Yeah. No, that's an interesting model. And like there's people who've made that model work. And I understand like the economics behind it makes sense. If you're getting cost per conversions on Google at, $75, like, cause I manage my own Google ads and I'm like, fuck, if I got $75 leads in Washington State, I'd be, doing this from the back of my yacht, but it's just not the truth. But yeah, if you can go into like, even 20 areas that are good and you can get good conversions, you can make the business model work. But the problem is a lot of these people, like these national wholesalers, they don't know fuck about real estate. And that's the thing. That's the thing. And I heard a guru talk about this once and I heavily disagreed with him. And he was like, I don't know anything about real estate. I'm in the pawn shop business, like metaphorically speaking. And I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, well, if you're advertising that you buy real estate from people who really need your help and you don't know shit about real estate, you're a fucking idiot. And you shouldn't be like, this is somebody's house. Like this is grandma needs her equity or some of her equity because we're going to have some equity on the sale.
It shows you how quickly people forget because what you're describing is very literally what like Open Door and like the Zillow buyer program we're doing through the boom, and all those companies are gone.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work. Everybody thinks their competitive edge is I know how to do PPC. It's like that's awesome. If your competitive edge is to get leads, but you have no idea if they're good leads. That's kind of where you hear it is a lot of times with the PPC companies like you don't need to know anything about real estate. We'll just dial in. It's all about data, and it's like maybe. But I can tell you right now, there's not really very many successful people doing 10 deals in a market they don't know anything. Because the problem is not only do you have to know the values of the market, you have to find somebody that will buy it. And that's what we found while we did our program the way we did it is because we had local partners on the ground, the partnership program. And you're able to have that connection between the sellers and the buyers and somebody there that actually has knowledge of like, no, I would never buy a house on this road. This is why.
Exact specific local knowledge, right?
Yes.
It's like that. Especially in like where I invest in New York City suburbs in Seattle, where it's big time. It's like the big leagues. Like if like I'll give you an example. I live on Southern Street. I'm not going to give my full address out on the internet for people to come visit me. I live on Southern Street, right? If you go to the end of the street, it's still really expensive, but not nearly as expensive as where my house is, right?
Really?
Or the neighbors' houses are. And it's the same fucking street and it's a quarter mile down the road because if you're on one side of Southern Street, you're right by 35th. There's not a good, like, the sun doesn't set there. So like that fucks the values up. That fucks the lot values up. But if you're by me, you can see the water and you can see the mountains and the lot value is worth a shitload more and it's the same road. But if you're some asshole sitting in, Dallas, Texas, and you're comping the product, you wouldn't fucking know that. You would have no clue. So that's where I see, and we always like when we're dealing with, competition, it's like, we'll scare the shit out of the seller. We'll say, hey, so you got another offer from, Johnny, buys houses for $100,000 more than us. What's their earnest money deposit? Oh, I think it was like $50. $50. So this person's claiming they're going to buy your house for cash for $500,000. They're going to put $50 down.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that's going to work out too well? And they're like, what do you mean? What should we expect? And then I'll buy it and I'll say, I'll put down $25,000 if I need to.
Yeah.
Well, you'll put down $25,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm giving you, $500,000 for your house. That's like the least I can do.
Yeah, exactly.
It's competitive. And then, that's how you get these assholes out of there is it's not that hard, but at the same time, like, a lot of sellers, especially online, like they think they're getting like an instant appraisal or something. I don't know what it is, but once you bring them down to reality and really like kind of consult them more than sell them, you can get that deal over the other national wholesaler because they really don't know shit about how to educate a seller and like bring value to them. They just need to like hit their quota. And it's just a different business model. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's just like everything else, where people will believe what they want to believe.
Yeah.
And you can't really like convince people otherwise. Like if people are grasping on to the real estate values or like even last week, we got a lead that came in and the guy said he bought the property in 2022 and he had like his price. And he said, the note said, we was called Porter. The note said, seller says with how strong the real estate market has been, how much it's growing, he's expecting it to be worth like 400 now, which is like 80 grand more he bought it for. I was like, this dude thinks the market's still good. What the fuck? Like just like look at anything. Pick your poison of news source and every headline will be negative real estate. Like he's literally just been under a rock, but he's grasping onto that still.
It's crazy. I have a flip right now in Beacon Hill, which is a decent area in Seattle. Yeah, fucking the chin of Beacon Hill, baby. And I comped it neighbor house, like literally same exact thing. Mine's nicer because I did a little renovation on it. That comp went at 515 about 2 years ago, maybe not even like a year and a half, 2 years ago. I list mine at 499, less than that comp, and we're still on market with no offers. Yeah, and it'll sell. Like it's not a big deal, but I'm just like, people think their house went up. It's like, brother, look at the fucking data.
I know.
No,
I know.
It hasn't. Yep. It's just flat. It went down a little bit. Yep. People don't know that shit. It's crazy, bro.
Exactly.
So, well, with all that being said, Greg, what are you doing right now to be as competitive as you can in the marketplace?
Yeah, for sure. That's a good question. Number one, we are closing on a lot of the houses and actually buying them. And, it sounds crazy to say, like, I buy houses and I actually buy them, I don't assign everything.
Yep.
But we're making offers, on certain properties that we're going to close on. And we're going to actually, be the buyer. We're going to get it funded. It's not going to be like a shit show. So that's the first thing we do to stay competitive. Number two, and this is something that people don't talk about that much. If we only want to wholesale the house for whatever reason because of our local knowledge and we don't want to take it down, we tell the seller, we might not be the buyer for them, but we can help connect them with the buyer. Yeah. And we basically tell them we're wholesaling it and they're fucking cool about it and they don't care. And we still put down earnest money and we put some skin in the game. Dude, we get deals like that all the time. Like we had this one up here by Canada and the lady got absolutely jerked by a wholesaler who put $50 down. And then she sold to me for more money, right? Because I put down a deposit and, I have a better buyer's list than him and it's way higher chance that I'm going to get it sold. But she knew going into the transaction that was going to be the expectation. And I explained to her why I'm not going to actually buy it myself based on the location and how I can actually get her more money. And I come to find out, boys. So I'm transparently wholesaling. I'm putting big deposits down when I'm buying if it's necessary. Do I like to put 1,000 down? Yes, but sometimes I put way more down if it gives me a competitive advantage. And then the third thing that's tactical is we're very consultative with that seller on the situation going on. And if it's not a fit, we're going to tell them and we're going to recommend that they do something else. And that builds a lot of trust, a lot of value. We're treating it like we'd be treating a relative if they were trying to sell their house. And the sellers love that shit because they know we're serious about that. Mm-hmm. But back to the thing I was telling you, I try to do some digging on why this guy couldn't dispo this deal. And I go on a Facebook group. You guys are in that group. I type in the keyword where it was. And I see this fucker is trying to sell it for $100,000 more than what he originally gave the seller. And I'm like, no wonder he couldn't sell it. It's not a deal at 230. It's a deal at probably 170 was what I'm trying to sell it at. And then I'm like, holy shit, no wonder he couldn't find a buyer. He was trying to literally take this lady's pants off.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's about right. So on the stuff, by the way, I think the approach you're doing is where you have to go in this business. If you're not trying to help and be, do these like seller consultations and be like, you know what, this is not a fit for me, but here's your other options, then you're going to lose. I mean, that's where all these shady dudes come in, where they're still trying to like creep around the seller or what they're doing and doing some weird bullshit. Exactly.
Me, what's your one-liner for closing sellers? I'm like,
right.
What
yeah, exactly. But for the flips you're taking down, because it is kind of Seattle's a stronger market than a lot of the country, but for what are you looking at? Are you just looking at like almost wholesales, or you're not doing full guts, or are you doing full guts?
We're not fucking around with the big gut jobs. Those are usually never worth it unless you're in a really good neighborhood in the city and you can like for example, if you finish a basement, you add 2 bedrooms and a bath, and it jumps the value up.
Yeah.
But I'm doing the cosmetic stuff, paint, polish, floors, doors, trim, that kind of stuff that's really appealing inside but doesn't cost a lot.
Yeah.
And also, I'm not taking on more flip projects than I can handle, right? So I'm declining some flip projects if I'm overfilled with stuff.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to, bite off more than I can chew. And I'm assuming if it takes longer to sell this inventory, I don't want to have a huge backlog of deals that are going to be sitting. So a lot of the times what we'll do is if we have more lead volume than we're willing to take on from a flip standpoint, we may offer the seller more money and do a wholesale only situation, which takes the stress off our plate where we don't need to ultimately fund it.
Right.
We could maybe give the seller more money, in exchange for maybe less certainty. And, we're getting them done that way. And another thing too, I guess out here is like that Beacon Hill thing I was telling you about. If that doesn't sell for some reason, I could keep that as a rental. I don't want because it would be a cash in refinance, not a cash out refinance.
Right.
It would I could make it work as a rental because it's not like $2 million in Bellevue.
Sure.
So I'm looking at the deal and I'm like, absolute worst case, could I keep it as a rental if I had to? Pretty much it's always yes. And like I said, unless it's like a $2 million property.
Yeah.
And I kind of know going in like, okay, if this doesn't sell for some reason, which is unlikely, I could keep it as a rental. It'd still be fine.
Any hard nose, like busy roads or size or anything like that? Age?
We had one actually down in Sumner, which is near Tacoma, and the house backed up to a highway, and just super red flag for flip for any any buyer, right? Whether it's a cash buyer or a regular buyer. So that stuff we're avoiding. Obviously double yellows, we're going to take some value off that, but we won't necessarily decline it. But you got to say, like, if the comps in the neighborhood are 600 and you got like a 10-15% like shitty factor, you're going to list it for that price. And then hopefully that would stand out because you got the busy road, but you got the cheaper house. So we're really, really, behind landfill. Like I'll give you another example. We have one in Puyallup, almost wholesaling right now. It actually came from a realtor referral and she's cool with me wholesaling it. Surprise, surprise. And I walked it. I was like, I don't think this is for me due to the location. And then I told her, I'm like, I could probably wholesale this off to somebody. You're still going to get your commission. It's the same shit. But I'm not going to be the buyer. I'm going to dispo this out, and I got a buyer in like an hour.
Wow.
And so she's super. But the guy who's buying it for me is a buddy of mine, and it's a good deal for him because he's going to be able to chop the lot up and cut it up into a couple different pieces and sell it off. And could I do that if I wanted to? Yes, but I don't really fucking do that. Like that's not my thing. So
stay in your lane, man. That's what it is. I like that.
I think that's a huge thing now too. Just to wrap this up, is so many people. And it's fun. I feel like this started several years ago with the rise of like the sub 2 and the novations and the seller finance, flipping and everything else. And when things get tough, people are just trying to do like everything. But if you just like stay in your lane, you're going to be so much better, and just find people who are in those lanes that make sense for the deal. And don't try to like learn something new like that especially when times are challenging. You don't want to be taking risks when the downside is immense. You kind of take risks when things are good and you can afford to screw stuff up.
Exactly, man. You got to know you got to know real estate. It's funny we're even saying this because like you'd think like the regular person would assume that, but like you got to know real estate really well, and you got to go know marketing, and you got to know how to have a pipeline. Like you got to know a lot of things. And when you know a lot of things, you can be successful. It's like, people forget about that. You got to know real estate.
But I will say it's shocking though how many people are in this industry that really have no idea how real estate transactions work, how to comp properties,
I know,
how to do
they
any
never
of
had
that.
a deed before. They've never signed a deed. And I'm like, you've wholesaled 100 houses and you've never fucking owned real estate.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, exactly.
So, cool. Awesome, Greg. Well, where can people find you, follow you, reach out to you?
You can follow me on Instagram at Grego_37. I do my Sunday specials now where I put my take on football games, and I'm a big New York Jets fan. So if you want to be entertained on Sundays, tune into my Instagram. A little bit of mixture of real estate and comedy as a miserable fan.
Yeah. There we go.
I like
awesome. Cool, buddy. Well, thanks for coming on the show today, man. Thanks for reaching out to schedule this. That was fun.
Yeah.
Thanks for being Johnny on the spot.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys. Thanks for listening. Go and shoot Greg a follow. If he's not on like your sort of regular cadence of people that you check out and see what they're doing, he definitely should be, because if you can't tell, he's the real deal. He's been in the game for a long time. All right, everybody. Well, thanks for listening. We'll talk to you guys next week.
See y'all.